Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. The rest of the data concerning this video will be in the description below, but this is going to be hopefully a very short video. This is about President Biden said taking the COVID shot, you basically won't get sick. And we have two interviews here, one from the president as to what he said. And then we have Mr. Albert Bourla from Pfizer. Daryl, thank you for inviting me. I'm a 59-year-old man. I don't need to take it. I don't need to take it. I don't need to take it at all. I'm very healthy. I'm not on the front line. Albert, please sit down. Thanks. Anyway. Yes, that was Albert Bourla for a cameo appearance. We also have Albert Bourla being interviewed concerning vaccine hesitancy. So there is a differing of opinions here. We have Albert Bourla, who had vaccine hesitancy, got COVID twice. We have Joe Biden, who said the vaccine will not only prevent you, but you won't even get the virus. So who is telling the truth? This is about, again, President Joe Biden taking the COVID shot. You'll not get sick. QA authority says collusion will kill. And I've said this time and time again. I'm not going to go into any placards, but I'm going to let you listen to the first gentleman up is Albert Bourla with his interview. I know it's 3 minutes long, but it's well worth listening to. Right now.
I want to ask you also about a very important issue of vaccine hesitancy. Even folks who get most of their vaccines normally might be hesitant about these vaccines because they were developed so quickly. What do you tell those folks who might be saying, well, I'm going to wait a few months before I get this one?
I would tell them I wish that the situation was not so critical so that they can have the luxury to think about it. The situation is as deadly as it could be right now with the amounts of deaths or new cases that we are facing. So they need to think it twice. This is a vaccine that was developed without cutting corners from a company with 171 years of credentials. This is a vaccine that was developed in the spotlight and the daylight with all the data being put in servers. This is a vaccine that has been approved in the US by two separate governmental agencies, CDC and FDA, after listening to two separate independent scientific bodies. One is the FDA and the other is the ACIP for the CDC. And this is a vaccine that is getting approved by all authorities in the world. So that should say something to them. And I repeat once more, the decision not to vaccinate will not affect only your health or your life. Unfortunately, it will affect the lives of others and likely the lives of the people you love the most, which are the people that usually you are in contact with. So I think trust science.
Well, and a question for you. I've heard you have not yet had your shot. When do you plan to get it?
The sooner I can, I will. The only sensitivity here, Meg, is that I don't want to have an example that I'm cutting the line. That I am 59 years old, in good health, I'm not working in the front line, so my type is not recommended to get vaccination now. So that's one consideration. On the other hand, our company ran a lot of polls to see what would take people to believe it. And one of the highest ranking, even higher than if Joe Biden takes it, even higher than if the other presidents take it, it is if the CEO of the company takes it. So with that in mind, I'm trying to find a way that I will get vaccinated despite if it is not my time, just to demonstrate the confidence of the company. But we have made a decision that if we have to do that, we will not do it with our executives. So none of the executives or board members will cut the line. They will take it as their age and the occupation type is a time for them to take.
Well, Albert, thank you very much for that. And now we're going to get President Biden on there to let you listen to his commentary on how taking the vaccine will basically let him describe this. And here it is.
You're okay. You're not not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. So you're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. So
you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. You have Albert Bourla, who said he's the Pfizer he's a Pfizer CEO, not cutting the line. He's a 59-year-old man. But let me just get into this, business owners, my fellow citizens. And why do we do it? Because of integrity, honesty, and the truth. And we have a woman here who confesses basically as to why the COVID virus more than likely escaped from the lab. We have a Miss Pamela Sale. Miss Pamela Sale is, at the time, was the VP of laboratory certification. And she basically said under deposition after one of the laboratories failed down in Texas, she basically said, one of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic labs around the country have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not, which means it's ad hoc. There's not one laboratory that she's basically saying, whether it is phlebotomy, whether it is phlebotomy, bio-level 4 laboratories or forensic laboratories that are not failing. There is no protocol. So she basically proved the fact that those specialists who are saying that the virus escaped from Wuhan, China, are absolutely correct, and she confirms it. We want to go into this because this is about how, Albert Bourla talks about the FDA and CDC approving this. Well, I have to say this. There's a lot of collusion and interlocking directorates. And before you jab yourself with the next shot, just think about this. Just don't go, Daryl, you know what to do, like Davy and Goliath. Unbelievable. You have ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, is a not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation that has federal agencies and corporations all protecting each other, okay? And by the way, this is their mission statement said to me on the telephone in 2019. I have the tape recording. I've said in many videos. Half a nut fuck you was said to me by the chairman, Russ Cheney, 2019, from ANSI. That is their mission statement. That is their mantra. It's disgusting. What happens to the CEOs that are on there? Like David Calhoun from Boeing. He must say, well, his quality's no good anyway, so this fits suit right there. And I don't mean it about the personnel there. It's about the management. Always the management. They lay off the inspectors there at Boeing, and David will get a performance bonus because he has all the board members who are in bed with them. So let's continue on. In 2015, Randy Doherty, the vice president of ANAB, the chairman of the IAF, and also the principal on the IAF tax report, handed over leadership to this communist Chinese national Zhao Jinwu, who's been involved with our quality since 1994, okay? And he is also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. He is mandated by his country of origin to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, 2017. Randy was being advertised on the Department of Homeland Security while his friend, Communist National, mandated to take your data through the Chinese National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, was sitting on the IAF. Continue on. Randy was being advertised. There was a gentleman at Philip Matson, $262,000, a royalty payment at the time, which meant maybe taxed, could be taxed, might not be taxed, whatever, plus his salary from the federal government. We continue on. In 2017 as well, Zhao Jinwu was in the laboratory at Wuhan, China, handing over a bio-level 4, to the bio-level 4 laboratory, handing over an ISO 17025 certification. You have ANSI and ANAB. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB, and you have both federal agencies and corporations on board. And here we go. As I told you, here is Zhao Jinwu standing in the lab. He is the chairman of the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware. He is mandated to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. He is also in there. He's a chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services that gave the ISO 17025 laboratory certificate to Wuhan, China. Again, I will say this again. Pamela Sale said, and I quote, one of the issues that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic laboratories and also bio-level 4 laboratories, and also phlebotomy labs, taking all kinds of juices out of you, doing tests, have to follow, okay? Around the country have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not. We also discovered that for those people who are trying to sue Wuhan, China, those are not the people, it's ANSI, ANAB. They are underwriters, and we have it not only in a documented proof from a website that we actually date stamped it because we knew they were going to take it down once we exposed it, but you can't date stamp a government contract. It came off a government contract. I will show you. They are an underwriter. ANSI and ANAB are an underwriter for the International Accreditation Form. So when you had Zhao Jinwu as the chairman of the IF handing over a certificate, ANSI, ANAB took responsibility for that ISO certification because the China National Accreditation Services is equivalent in accreditation to ANAB, and he's also the IAF. That's even more important than that cert. He's also the IF representative, which ANSI and ANAB are the underwriters for. An underwriter is any party that evaluates and assumes another party's risk. We also write off a government contract. I hope you can read this here. It says ANSI, ANAB are underwriters for the International Accreditation Form. So this is unequivocally the truth of the matter, is that ANSI, ANAB are underwriters. They took full responsibility for that certificate that was issued by an IAF chairman, no less. You also have Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci, and there's also a CDC document from May 2019 calling out basically directions on how to handle a Bio-4 level laboratory and in China. And the only lab that's mentioned in this procedure from 2019 is one that has to do with Wuhan, China. Okay, Wuhan, China. You have the factor too that Anthony Fauci was asked, another one under deposition, was asked about gain-of-function research, and he said, I don't know. I have no clue, by Senator Rand Paul. He said, I don't know. Well, we pulled this from a document, a Chinese technical document, that is the upcoming event, second China-U.S. workshop on the challenges of emerging infections, laboratory safety, and global health security. And the first item of business is gain-of-function research. And here it is. And if you keep on reading the bullet points, you will find out that they were prepping for a global pandemic in 2017. This workshop was from May 17th to 19th, 2019, I think it is. Oh, sorry, excuse me. It was 2017. I apologize. So 2 years before the COVID outbreak. And we have that document, of course, over here, the full booklet. If you want to see it, we will gladly email it to you, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, Daryl, TQRS @yahoo.com. And here's Zhao Jinwu in Wuhan, China. And, you know, they talk about Albert Bourla. Please come out here. You said that great organizations, the FDA, also the CDC, two regulated governmental agencies that we should not trust. Oh, sorry, that was me. That was not him. Let's continue. The National Institute of Health sits on ANSI's board. Right over by the CDC, right over by the FDA. All of them are sitting together. Right over by, and you will see them come out relatively soon, Johnson & Johnson and also Pfizer, who both of those organizations skipped quality processes and standards, and they had to have a recall on the COVID vaccine. You have the factor that the FDA approved ANAB, and the FDA sits on ANAB's board. I'll hold this there for a second. I'm not going to go into reading it, but here it is. The FDA sits on ANAB's board. They also sit on ANSI's board, and what are they doing? They approved ANAB for third-party audits. I know this is for food safety and all that, but nevertheless, there is no oversight. You have the USDA sitting there, also another organization. And here it is, Johnson & Johnson. You have Johnson & Johnson, and you have Pfizer. Both of them skipped quality processes. I think Johnson & Johnson had a 60 million recall of product of the COVID vaccine, and Pfizer, I think, had 15 million. The articles will be down below. If you don't find them and you're questioning it, you can actually Google that, recall of COVID vaccine Pfizer, and also Johnson & Johnson. It should pop up very readily. You will get those articles. The situation is you have, again, these pharmaceutical houses sitting right over by, and here it is, sitting right over by what Albert Bourla said. We have two governmental agencies, the CDC and FDA. I wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them, especially being that there's so much involvement here with China and all the rest of this incestuous relationship. Albert, let me just say this. Thank you very much for coming in here. And look what he said. I'm a 59-year-old man. I'm very healthy. Oh, dear God. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, business owners, my fellow citizens. I'm sorry for the length of the video. All the information, more so, will be down in the description again. Albert, thank you very much. I'd like to bite your neck. Please, that's not the way you get the injection. But he didn't take the injection. I heard he did take it, and then he ended up with COVID, I think, a second time. I think Joe Biden also ended up with COVID twice. And as you heard him say, that the COVID vaccine will protect you from getting COVID completely, 100%, basically. Terrible thing that we're listening to. The miscommunication between the pharmaceutical houses and our government, between the FDA and FBI, and also our representation. I've done that too in Connecticut with Rosa DeLauro, Jim Himes, Chris Murphy, and Richard Blumenthal, concerning how proud they were, and I'm going to just interject, how proud they were when Lockheed Martin bought Sikorsky, and in the Connecticut Mirror, it stated, with China's okay, Lockheed Martin closes on the purchase of Sikorsky aircraft. And there's a little blurb in there that says, Connecticut lawmakers praise Lockheed Martin for working with an international regulator, Communist China. So all those representation in Connecticut gave him a thumbs up, while Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, complains all the time when he gets questioned about China and what it's doing to the United States and how harmful it is to the way of life here. It's terrible. The inconsistencies of quality by ANSI as well. Half a nut, fuck you. Every one of those companies that sit on ANSI approves and condones half a nut, fuck you, because their quality is that way. I didn't say it. Russ Cheney did. Boeing, half a nut, fuck you. Lockheed Martin, another half a nut, fuck you, with Jim Tassett. I'm just telling you the fact. It is the fact. I have it in a recording here. And let me just let you listen to this one more time, business owners. This is what he left me. Russ Cheney, on top of it, I applied for a director at large on ANSI, trying to change this, and also trying to be helpful to the small mom and pop shop who supplies materials to the larger companies that sit on ANSI. But you know who was the chairman of the nominating committee for 2022 in June? No other than Russ Cheney. So I'm going to show you this last placard. I think it's very good. I know it's very good, as a matter of fact. You have approval of both board member, government agencies, and corporations. And here is what Russ Cheney said. Yes, he did say that. And he said that because I exposed the factor of laboratory accreditation, A2LA, sitting on ANSI's board, right over by the forensic laboratories that they accredit and certify. Okay? And there's no consistency in quality. Quality is out of control. I've said it time and time again. Absolutely. And I have the proof. Just write me. I will give you this information. It's free of charge. Are you kidding me? This is ANSI's mantra. Russ Cheney finally said what all of those companies that sit on there, have a nut, fuck you. You'll find recalls, automotive, aerospace, medical, pharmaceutical, all hiding behind these quality certificates, which mean nothing. Nothing at all. And ANSI and ANAB are their underwriters. Underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum. Underwriters for the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. I'll leave it here, business owners and my fellow citizens. Have a great day. 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you.